Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Blind, brought to you by Tetra Hearing at tetrahearing.com. Go check them out, and we sure do appreciate their partnership. Welcome to the Canada headquarters of the Heartland Waterfowl podcasts.
Look at these fine headquarters.
Look at this painting we had specially made for our studio.
That's a Michelangelo.
Is it a Michelangelo?
Yeah. It seems like every time that we're in Canada, we have to do the podcast from the hotel beds.
Right.
That's just the... Yeah.
That's what you want to call them.
Last time, this is how you were.
Oh, I was so tired for the spring Canada trip that I was barely awake for that podcast.
We are excited to be back in Saskatchewan, the first time back in the fall since the pandemic, and that was fall of 2019. So It's been 4 years since we've been up here, and man, it's so great to be back. There's a lot to talk about here. First of all, everybody give a big round of applause to our guest, Eric Fix, who's joining us in studio.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we get into how our trip has gone thus far, let's get to know Eric a little bit. How did you get even involved in this chaos?
Okay, so I guess I'll try to give you a short version of this story.
It doesn't matter.
Even though we're going to go back a little bit.
Definitely go to the Cliff Notes version.
Alex and I have known each other for quite a while. A long time ago, I finally talked him into going on a duck hunt with me.
You had to talk him into it?
He is die-hard deer. You know you were, man.
I never grew up waterfowl hunting when I was little.
So how old were you then? How many years ago was this?
15 or 16.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least, yeah. And so, I mean, I couldn't get him out of them deer woods, you know? Like, our opening weekend in Missouri starts in the first weekend in November, which is awesome rut time, and he just couldn't give it up. So finally, I got him out there.
Some things never change.
Some things never change.
Does that sound
They
familiar?
never change.
First week in November, guess where he still is? Not in North Dakota with us.
Not with us.
I believe it. And man, I got him out there, and like he killed it after that. Like, he ate it up.
Yep.
And so, you know what's cool about that story, though? We go in full circle. Is I'm in Canada now. You know, I'm with you guys. Alex took me, so I feel like he's taking me on my first waterfowl hunt. I'm in the Mecca. So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
What was your first impression because we drove all night, right? So once we crossed the border, it was dark. There's nothing to see as we go across Manitoba and parts of Saskatchewan.
Oh, yeah.
We got here, we dropped the trailer, immediately went out to scout. What was your first impression of Saskatchewan?
I was in awe. Just the amount of waterfowl up here, and the amount of work you guys do. and the grind just to get here and then go straight out and do the scouting. I was just in awe, just watching you guys do your thing and just seeing this amazing country. And I grew up waterfowl hunting, so like I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I just do it a little different than you guys. I don't hit the snows that much, but it's been a blast doing that. And so seeing that side, your guys' side of it, I was just in awe. It was awesome.
So we would like to thank Eric Champlin for resigning from Heartland Waterfowl because it has been a pure joy to have Eric Fix on this trip. And it's just crazy how we've all gotten along so much better since Champ is not on this trip.
We traded one Eric for another.
We're kidding, Champ. We're kidding. Well, kind of kidding.
He literally, if his
don't renew
passport
that
would have
passport.
showed up the day before, he still would have hopped in the truck and been with us.
I believe it.
Yep.
Well, we're glad you're here, man. You've been awesome to be around. Obviously, we've had the chance to meet you through Alex over the years, and you've been a huge supporter of ours and come to the premiere, and you've been just incredible to be around, and we're happy that you're here, man. It's been fun.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here as well.
It's been okay.
So let's dive into it. First of all, before we dive into it, I want to remind you how important it is for you to subscribe to the Heartland Waterfowl YouTube channel and make sure you hit the notifications bell, because by doing so, if you've ever watched a YouTuber, they talk about smashing that notifications bell. You get notifications every time we drop a new video. And so what we do with this Heartland Waterfowl YouTube channel when we're out on the road is that we're giving you kind of an insight to being in camp with us. We're talking about the hunt from the last couple days. We're talking about what our plan is for the next couple days, and we're turning this around in hopes of getting it to you within 24 hours of us recording it. In addition to that, the actual hunts. So we got Dakota and Q behind the scenes. Incredible with the field production. Dakota, Marathon Media Management, filming and producing the the actual hunt recaps, as we call them, and giving you the actual experience in a polished production within 24 hours of that actually happening. And so by hitting that notifications bell, you keep up to date with us throughout the entire hunting season. You don't have to wait until July when it comes out on Sportsman's Channel, and you get to kind of get a feel for what the migration is doing as well. So make sure you check that out, and a chance for you to win on this trip a Tingle-free prize pack, which would include a box of the Flight Series flocked full-body mallards, in addition to the gun case, the floating gun case, and the blind bag from Tingle-free, which will have the Typha First Light camo. So you can get entered to win all of that by commenting and liking on all of these videos, be it the behind the blind or the hunt recaps, while we're up here, and we'll draw a winner in the last episode of the Behind the Blind while we're here. So make sure you do that throughout this entire week. We got up here a couple days ago, as I mentioned earlier, dropped the trailers, immediately went out and scouted. I was a little surprised that we didn't see as many snow geese as I thought we were going to see when we first got here, but that evening scout was a completely different story.
Right. So first, we got here, we pulled into town, 8 a.m., 7 a.m., something like that. It's pretty early. So we just dropped the trailers and immediately went scouting. And like you said, it's kind of like, where are all the birds at, right? We didn't see nearly as many snow geese as we typically are accustomed to seeing. And when we went back out for that afternoon scout, different story. Birds migrating in, by the hour. You could just see feeds getting, birds coming in from the north, piling in, and had a pretty good feed lined up. We knew we were going to go into it with no wind, which is crazy because in the springtime, we had one day of a little bit of wind, but 4 other days with zero wind. And then day one here in the fall, zero wind. It's kind of unfortunately been the MO lately. But that first hunt, we went into it with a lot of confidence. There was a lot of birds there, and they looked pretty comfortable. So we thought day one was going to be good. And they do what snow geese typically do. And I think a lot of new birds had come in overnight as well. And those new birds, they're not comfortable with what field they're going to. They're just coming in. So they hop to a field just to the south of us. And then, once a big feed starts, then that's all she wrote. So we shot like 15 or 16. So we picked on a couple okay groups came in, a couple singles. It wasn't, awful, but it isn't what we expected it to be by any means.
Were you a little concerned, Logan, when you went out for that first scout and didn't see the amount of snows that we thought we might see?
Yeah. It was kind of grim, really. And the ones that you did see weren't really like congregated, just like tonight, really.
Yeah, they were really spaced out.
Now there's a ton of birds around versus little birds, but they're still really spread out. It's not like they want to be, together. It's like a decent feed here, a decent feed here, and a decent feed here. And if within a mile square, if you would put them all together, then it would be something that you would want to hunt. But you don't want to hunt one of those three. And it also seems like there's not all the birds are coming out in the afternoon as well, comparable to the morning, because we are seeing a lot more in the morning. Typically, but they're still just kind of going all sorts of different ways, and they definitely came out a lot later tonight than they did previously yesterday. So a lot of new birds. They don't really know exactly what they're wanting to do yet, but that it's a good problem to have. Just unfortunately, and we'll get into this in a bit, but we're gonna have to keep scouting. So
yeah, migration day is kind of a double-edged sword, right? It's you show up and there's not birds here, and then the birds get here, and it's like, yeah, we got more birds, but then there's that day or even two that those birds have to get acclimated, and so that can be almost as frustrating as being somewhere where there's not any birds.
Yep.
Yeah, and it can make your hunting good, right? Because they're not acclimated. New area, vulnerable, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, it really does mess with them.
Right. And the other things that we kind of look for when we're out scouting is how, where are they roosting, where are they loafing, and how far are they traveling to feed? And, typically when we're up here, we like to relatively keep them close from their roost. I say within 2 miles.
Yeah, some of those birds tonight were flying
Oh,
5, 6, 7 miles.
It
or
just seems
more.
like the
Those aren't
further
birds that
further
we
away
want.
that they fly, the harder, more difficult it gets. Especially when you have the clear skies and the no wind days. Those birds are flying so high by the time they get there, and then getting them down and trying to work those birds with no wind. It's a tough thing to do.
Right. So that's what we're looking for. We found some good feeds, but they were coming from a long ways away, and so we choose to not hunt those birds. And we found a couple feeds from the first day, and I guess last night's scout. So today's hunt, where they weren't going very far. The first day didn't turn out like we had hoped, but today was
Different story.
awesome.
Yeah,
Different
great
story.
day.
We got after him today.
Real
great
good
day.
story.
So Eric, you said that you haven't typically done a lot of snow goose hunting. You've done some.
I have, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So had you ever had a snow goose hunting day where you shot 80 snow geese? Like
Not
a
quite.
4-man limit.
No, not quite. We've been close before in the past, but what happened today was amazing. It was a lot of fun.
How does that differ from what you're used to?
It's pretty much the same.
He's a duck guy. That's how it differs.
Well,
He shoots
from what
ducks.
I'm used to, yeah. If we're
hunting
gonna go to
snow
what
geese
I
back
do,
home, yeah.
hunting snow geese back home. It was similar. It was the same thing.
We've been on some good spring hunts.
yeah.
Okay.
Where we shot 50, 60
Yeah.
or so. But really, of course, on those spring hunts, it's like you're shooting a couple of the birds that are in that field, but then you're really banking on migrator days, right? That in the springtime, especially.
Yeah.
And I can remember one in particular where we had shot like 10 snow geese in the morning. We hunted all day, and then like the last 30 minutes, the migrators piled in, and we shot like 70 in the last 30 minutes.
But it still didn't touch what we did.
But it's completely different. Spring and fall. Anyone who's hunted either or knows it's just two completely different things, and especially up here, it's different. So I'm glad that, and we dealt with no wind this morning, but I think the biggest thing this morning, we were in a pea field this morning, and if you haven't hunted peas, it's one, the birds absolutely love peas, and two, the hide is phenomenal.
Yes.
And there was a section that we were able to, we disappeared. Those birds had no idea we were there. So I think the birds were very comfortable when I talked to the landowner. They said they'd been in there for 3 days, which upped my confidence, tenfold when he said that they'd been sitting in there for 3 days. And then the hide we had, obviously that turned into I think we shot 91 total today, like
90.
80 snows,
90.
10 ducks, and
9
a
ducks
Canada,
and
something
one
like that.
honker. Yep.
Awesome morning.
That was incredible. Yeah. I hadn't really understood the hype around a pea field until Logan and I started hunting together, and we came up to Canada that first year, and we'd found some birds that were in a pea field, and you were telling me like, oh, you have no idea what you're about to get into.
Crack
and he was trying to
cocaine.
explain like the stemmy stubble and how it's almost like Velcro, and it's real easy to pick up that stubble off the ground. And we're in layouts today, and how quick and easy it is to, hide yourself with it. So kind of explain to everybody, like back home, I think corn is what everybody would be most excited about if they're field hunting, right?
Yeah.
But like if you've never hunted a pea field, it is bar none. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I would say for everybody in this room is our favorite field to ever hunt a waterfowl bird in. For me, it is anyway.
Yeah, down south, like peanut fields are really big. If you
I've
find
never
a
done
peanut
that.
field, but yeah, pea fields are tough to beat, and it can be very difficult at times to hide in it, because if the farmer cuts it super super low, then it's just like a bare dirt field. But typically around the edges, for whatever reason, I don't know, in some parts where like the header gets up too high, you can literally just grab it, and it's like a piece of carpet almost.
Yeah. It really is.
And you can just kind of peel it back, and then you don't have to stubble every stubble strap, right? You can kind of stick it in there, and it sticks to each other and just covers your blind super, super easy. And even when the farmer leaves, I thought at first when we were looking at it last night that he like left a full like strip of uncut peas, but it was like brush that like undergrowth that like grew into it so heavy and thick, like almost like it wasn't tumbleweeds, but I don't
Right.
even know what that stuff
Yeah.
was. But
It's actually, I think, very similar to tumbleweeds.
yeah, it was like a growth that just grew in there so thick, and it just drowned out all the peas. And he just didn't cut it, and it was right in the middle of the field, so it was a perfect place to hide. Yeah, it was super. It was kind of like a tumbleweed, a small tumbleweed, I guess.
I mean, you were kind of kicking it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you
you
would
pile
kick
it
it,
up,
yeah.
you'd kick it.
break it over.
But there was, I mean, the other thing too is there was a little tiny piece of water to the south of us in the field, and yesterday those birds were loafing all day, and we were sitting there laughing because if we were up here in the spring, we'd probably tend to hunt that water when those birds are trading midday, but in the fall it's not really the most ideal way, and obviously we did just fine with the way we hunted them in the pea field this morning. So yeah, I mean, today was great. You can't ask for anything better. And then it just, you have a great hunt, and then you go out and scout this afternoon. We get turned down, beat to fields 10 different ways tonight. Just very unlucky, right? We, it's just, there's a lot of people up here. Everybody's hunting. Everyone's, we had a great day today, but we're scouting in the morning.
Right.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, like, I guess the cliche,
Like highs and lows of Canada.
the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in our case, it's the bad, the good, and the ugly. We had bad is probably a strong word, but it wasn't a good day that first day. This morning was good.
Yeah, awesome.
Tonight was ugly. Tonight
Yeah.
was ugly from the standpoint that we drove all over Kingdom Come to try to find something, and we found lots of options, but we either got turned down,
Wouldn't call you
or
back.
they wouldn't call you back, or
We got beat to it.
We got beat to it.
the field.
Flat out.
That's the biggest thing I've noticed, especially is there's way more people up here than we've ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that comes from word of mouth or people hunting and having a good experience, and this guy tells this guy who texts this guy who posts it online, whatever the reason is.
Yeah,
there's
that thing that where
way-
Eric was earlier saying how great it is, and it's the Mecca. It's really not.
Yeah.
You don't want to come up here.
Yeah.
Don't listen to
Go-
me.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Joking.
Go to North Dakota. But it is frustrating, right? You come up here and we found some really good looking stuff, and the people have we've talked about it before on the podcast where hunting in Canada is super cool because 99% of the time you're always getting a yes unless somebody beats you to it.
Right.
And those guys, sorry, somebody just called an hour ago.
And it's
somebody-
usually
I
our
literally
response is no big deal because you can go,
Right.
5-10 miles down the road and find something
Right.
else.
And like we talked about earlier, there were other options, but they're not
The right ones.
they're not really huntable options.
Right.
The birds were so scattered that it's like, well, what's your best choice? Is it better to go scout and find something solid for either potentially tomorrow afternoon or the next morning, or go half-ass it on a smaller feed and then
Right.
you do all this work and maybe you shoot a couple, and it's like you got to take the best option and what you're going to be most successful with, and that especially with our history of how we do things, you just got to go scout. You got to
Right.
find something. You got to find something that's good, that the birds are comfortable in, that's a good hide, that has the combination of everything you want, instead of just going, hell, we're up here, let's just hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm going to kind of do a sidebar here for just a second because I was going to ask Eric, had you ever been on a filmed hunt before? A filmed waterfowl hunt like this?
I've been with you guys one time up in Kansas City.
Oh, okay. I guess I wasn't on that one, or I
No.
don't recall being there.
no, he came out in January on a goose hunt
Yeah.
at the
Okay.
ranch.
So, but it's been limited.
Yeah.
It's been
Yes.
limited. So, we talk about all the time, people hear us on the podcast or on the TV show talk about, man, if we weren't filming, we could have shot a limit, or we could have been done a whole lot sooner. Today, this morning, even though we did as well as we did, we really could have been done 2 hours earlier. Had we not been filming. So some people don't like to hunt with us because that's frustrating. Like, that's a golden
A
opportunity.
lot of people don't like the hunt.
They really don't. Like, it
It's
sounds
different.
cool at first
Yeah.
to be, to hunt with, people that do what we do. But until you get there. So kind of explain, like, did you ever have that sense of, and you can speak honestly, we're not going to take offense to it, but did you ever have that sense of frustration? Like, why are we shooting those?
I mean, it's hard to say frustration because I was just so happy to be here, but absolutely, I was like I'm getting ready to sit up, like thinking you guys are going to call it, and you're like, no, wait for the next spin, or
Yeah.
or there's more coming, like,
Mm-hmm.
and And then the other thing too is just like, I guess, and I don't know much about this, but just not being in the shot, you know. So if they're hard right or hard left or something, you weren't taking them. But man,
Yeah.
I'd be going at them.
Yeah.
I'd be reaching over my shoulder if I could.
That
so.
that first, I was gonna
like-
say that first hunt we had a bunch of birds that slid off to our right, and had we not been filming, me and him,
Oh,
he'd have
man.
turned out the right side of the blind, I would have spun around backwards, and we'd have shot 15 or 20 more
Yeah.
birds that day that were
Yeah.
slide off to the right.
So
Yeah.
there's a big
So,
difference.
It is. It's definitely different.
Yeah, definitely.
good,
I
though.
would say the biggest difference is being able to shoot those birds that are right off your like 90-degree, right?
Uh-huh.
Like those are the ones that, and those are the easy ones, the cheap ones to get away with when the birds think they're skirting you too.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, you don't get away with those. We're not obviously trying to get them right in the middle. So
We do get greedy, you know, and it because we want to have the best footage that we can possibly get. And today's an example with not having, and this isn't to say that all the birds didn't decoy, but there are those when you don't have a wind day, they just kind of glide and hover. They're killable.
yeah,
But they're up here where we like to have them feet down, you know, getting ready to land in the decoys. But you have to take what you can get on a no wind day, and that's kind of what happened today.
you just got to take what you can get.
I'll shoot snow geese like that every day of the week.
No, I don't.
I
mind.
mean, just the way the birds working this morning early too, and it's like I don't know. I just want to be greedy. Unfortunately,
Right.
I know I get over greedy at times, calling
We all do.
shots with that. But
Logan
like,
especially.
this morning, well, I'm sitting there asking you guys too. I'm like, hey, like, what do you want to do here? We got more
I
coming.
said, like the one shot where he goes, kill him?
there was a question mark.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap this up. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tell all your hunting buddies about what we're doing here, because you can really follow the migration with us throughout the entire year as it's happening. Whether we started in August in North Dakota with the early season geese. We're obviously in Saskatchewan now, and then we'll be in North Dakota the first week of November. And then we keep following the migration as far south as we can go, even down to Texas when we're shooting cranes the first part of the year. So tell your friends about this. Make sure you follow us on the Heartland Waterfowl YouTube channel to not only get those hunt recaps, or in this case tomorrow is a recap, because we probably aren't hunting tomorrow.
But there's a good episode coming from this morning.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. Like, comment on the videos so that you can get yourself entered to win the Tangle Free prize pack, that box of Flight Series flocked full body decoys, duck decoys, also the blind bag and the gun case with the Typha First Light camo. For Eric Fix, Alex Diecidue, Logan Burditt, I'm Ronnie Philips. Thank you, Tetra Hearing, for being the proud title sponsor of Behind the Blind. Check them out online at tetrahearing.com. We'll be back with you real soon. Stand by.